You know what hedge fund managers never expect? That the hospital janitor they ignore every morning has a photographic memory and access to every trash bin in the building. We're downsizing the maintenance department. Carlos. Nothing personal, just. Economics. Amanda Whitmore, Chief Operating Officer of Riverside Memorial Hospital, delivered those words without looking up from her laptop. 32 years I'd mopped these floors. 32 years of arriving at 4 a.m. to empty her office trash before she arrived at 8. 32 years invisible. What Amanda didn't know was that for the past 6 months, I'd been documenting every shredded document, every whispered conversation, every deleted email she'd printed and torn up. Because my daughter Sophia, a night shift nurse, had told me something that changed everything. Dad, patients are dying in the cardiac ward. Wrong medications. But when nurses report it, the reports vanish. 3 days ago, Sophia reported a medication error that killed an elderly patient. Yesterday, Amanda fired her for falsifying records. Today, I'm standing in Amanda's office with my termination letter, watching her type furiously on her phone to someone named Richard. Handle the nurse situation and get rid of her father. He's been here too long, probably heard too much. She doesn't realize I'm still standing here. Doesn't realize my daughter's falsified records are sitting in my basement, along with 6 months of Amanda's shredded financial documents, meticulously taped back together during my night shifts. Amanda Whitmore stole $4.3 million from Medicare through fraudulent billing. She covered up 17 medication errors that killed patients, and she thought a janitor was too stupid to notice. Tomorrow, the hospital board of directors meets at 2 p.m. They're expecting a routine budget presentation from their brilliant COO. What they're going to get is something very different. Subscribe to learn how a janitor with a mop bucket and a filing system destroyed a hospital executive's empire in 48 hours. When you're a janitor, people talk around you like you're furniture. Executives discuss confidential strategies while you empty their trash. Nurses gossip about medication errors while you mop around their feet. Doctors complain about administration pressure while you clean their lounges. For 32 years, I've been Carlos Mendoza, the quiet guy who keeps Riverside Memorial Hospital spotless. I emigrated from El Salvador in 1992, got my green card in 1998, became a citizen in 2004. My wife Maria died from breast cancer in 2016. Could afford treatment until it was stage 4, even with my hospital insurance. But we raised Sophia's. Smart, compassionate, hardworking. She became an RN 3 years ago, working night shift in cardiac care. Everything I sacrificed was worth it when I saw her in that nursing uniform. 6 months ago, Sophia came to me, scared. We were having Sunday dinner at my small apartment in Queens, the same apartment I've lived in for 28 years. Sophia pushed her rice around her plate, not eating. Mommy, what's wrong? I still call her that sometimes. Little mama, Dad, something's happening at work. Patients in the cardiac unit are getting wrong medications. Not occasionally, regularly. And when nurses file incident reports, they disappear. I put down my fork. Disappear? How? We file them digitally through the hospital system. They show us submitted for maybe an hour, then they're gone. Deleted, and if we mention it to administration, we're told we must have made a mistake in the filing process. How many times has this happened? To me personally, 4 times in 3 months. But I've talked to other night nurses. It's happening across all shifts. I started paying attention after that conversation. My shift runs 4 a.m. to noon. I arrive before administrators, before day shift, before everyone except night security and the overnight medical staff. I have master key access to every office, every storage room, every supply closet. Nobody questions a janitor with a mop bucket. Amanda Whitmore's office was always my first stop. She arrived religiously at 8 a.m., so I had 4 hours to clean, empty trash, and Amanda was 43, Harvard MBA, previously worked for Lexington Pharmaceutical, before joining Riverside Memorial 3 years ago. The hospital board loved her because she'd transformed financial performance, cutting costs by $12 million annually while maintaining quality care standards. Her office reflected her precision. Minimalist desk, expensive art, diplomas prominently displayed, and a shredder. She used it constantly. Most people don't realize that crosscut shredders create a puzzle, not a security system. If your patient and janitors are very patient too, can reconstruct documents. I started collecting her shredded papers in January, 6 months ago. Took them home in garbage bags. Spent my evenings taping pieces together like jigsaw puzzles. The first complete document I reconstructed was a patient billing record. I didn't understand the significance then. I kept collecting, kept reconstructing. By March, I had 17 similar documents. Always cardiac patients. Always Medicare recipients. Always massive billing, inflation. Then Sophia came to me crying. They fired Jennifer, Sophia said, referring to her colleague, a nurse with 15 years' experience. She reported a medication error on Mr. Patterson gave him 500 milligrams of ME instead of 200. He went into cardiac arrest. Jennifer filed an incident report, and the next day she was terminated for a pattern of documentation irregularities. Did you see the medication error? Dad, I was there. I helped code Mr. Patterson. We saved him, barely. The pharmacy definitely sent up the wrong dosage. But when Jennifer's incident report was investigated, the pharmacy records showed the correct dosage was dispensed. Jennifer was blamed for administering medication incorrectly. Could pharmacy records be changed? Sophia looked at me with frightened eyes. It would require administrator access to the hospital pharmacy system. Only a few people have that level of security clearance. I thought about Amanda's shredded documents, about Medicare fraud, totaling possibly millions, about medication errors that kept getting lost. Mommy, I need you to do something for me. Can you document everything? Every medication error you witness. Photograph it on your phone. Every incident report you file. Screenshot it before submitting. Can you do that without getting caught? Dad, if they catch me, they won't catch you. You're careful. You're smart. And I think something very bad is happening. At this hospital, Sophia documented everything for 3 months. 17 medication errors in cardiac care. 17 incident reports filed. 17 reports that disappeared within hours. Then she reported the death of Margaret Foster. Mrs. Foster, 78 years old, admitted for congestive heart failure. Stable condition, good prognosis. Sophia was assigned to her care on the night shift, May 15th. At 11:30 p.m., Sophia administered digoxin, a common cardiac medication. Dosage. On the medication cart, 250 micrograms. Sophia checked it 3 times, as protocol required. The pharmacy label clearly stated 250 mcg by midnight. Mrs. Foster was in cardiac arrest. She died at 12:47 a.m. Despite 47 minutes of resuscitation efforts, Sophia was devastated. She'd followed every protocol, but somehow Mrs. Foster had received a lethal overdose. Standard digoxin maintenance dose is 25 micrograms. Mrs. Foster received 10 times that amount. Sophia filed an incident report immediately, documenting everything. The medication label, the pharmacy delivery record, the time of administration, the patient's response. She took photos of everything on her personal phone before submitting the report. 3 hours later, the incident report was gone from the system. The next morning, Amanda Whitmore called Sophia to her office. Ms. Mendoza, we've reviewed the unfortunate death of Mrs. Foster. Our investigation shows that you administered an incorrect dosage of digoxin, contrary to the physician's orders and pharmacy protocols. This represents gross negligence resulting in patient death. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. Sophia tried to show her photos, her documentation. Amanda cut her off. Any attempt to dispute this termination or discuss this incident publicly will result in legal action against you. For defamation and HIPAA violations, you signed a confidentiality agreement when you were hired. That agreement remains in effect. Do you understand? Sophia understood. She came home, gave me her phone with all the photos, and cried. That's when I knew Amanda Whitmore wasn't just committing Medicare fraud. She was killing patients and blaming nurses to cover it up. What Amanda didn't know was that Sophia's father had been collecting evidence for 6 months. And unlike my daughter, I had nothing left to lose. The morning after Sophia's termination, I showed up for my 4 a.m. shift as usual. Amanda's office was my first stop. Her computer was in sleep mode, not fully shut down. I didn't touch it. I'm not tech-savvy enough to avoid leaving traces, but her trash bin was full. She'd been there late the previous night, probably dealing with Sophia's termination paperwork. I collected the shredded papers carefully, separating them from actual garbage. 5 pounds of cross-cut documents went into my cleaning cart, hidden under actual trash bags. At 7 a.m., I moved to the pharmacy department. My job included cleaning the medication preparation room, a sterile environment where drugs were measured and packaged for floor distribution. The night pharmacist was still on duty. Stanley Chun, 62 years old, worked a night for the past decade. He barely acknowledged me as I mopped around the medication carts. "Morning, Stanley," I said quietly. "Morning, Carlos." He was filling medication boxes for morning distribution, checking labels against computer screens. "Sorry about that nurse, Sophia. She seemed nice." Stanley's hands paused. "Yeah, bad situation. You think she really made a mistake?" He didn't answer for a moment. Then, very quietly, "Carla." "Atlas, Aru." You notice things? I notice a lot of things. Then maybe you've noticed that medication errors only happen on cardiac ward. Always night shift. Always elderly Medicare patients. Always labeled as nurse error, even though pharmacy records show we dispensed correct dosages. I stopped mopping. Why would pharmacy records show something different than what actually happened? Because someone with administrator access can change digital records retroactively. Makes it look like the pharmacy was never at fault. Makes it look like nurses are killing patients through incompetence. Who has that level of access? Stanley looked directly at me for the first time. Hospital coup. IT, Director, Chief Medical Officer. That's it. 3 people. Stanley, if you know this, why haven't you reported it? He laughed bitterly. To who? Amanda Whitmore is the coup. David Park is the IT director, reports directly to Amanda. Dr. Harrison is chief medical officer. Amanda got him that position after the previous CMO retired mysteriously last year. So they controlled the system. They are. The system, Carlos, and anyone who questions the system gets terminated. Like your daughter. I made a decision. Stanley, I've been collecting Amanda's shredded documents for 6 months. I have evidence of Medicare fraud billing for medications that were never given, inflating procedure costs. What I don't understand is why they're killing patients. Stanley's face went pale. Carlos, if you have that evidence, you're in danger. I know, but I need to understand the full scope. Why would they deliberately harm patients? Stanley glanced at the pharmacy security cameras, then leaned closer while pretending to check medication labels I was cleaning around. Medicare pays more for complicated cases. A stable cardiac patient who recovers normally generates maybe $15,000 in reimbursement, but a patient who develops complications requires additional interventions. Emergency procedures, ICU time. That same patient generates $80,000 or more. And if they die, there's no recovery period to monitor, no long-term follow-up costs, no risk of them reporting problems later. The horror of it struck me. They're killing patients for money. I can't prove it. But Carlos, in the past 2 years since Amanda took over, our cardiac ward mortality rate has increased 340%. Hospital administration calls it sicker patient population and unfortunate statistical variance. but I've been a pharmacist for 38 years. I know the difference between natural death rates and something wrong. How many deaths are we talking about? In 2 years? 47 patients, all Medicare cardiac patients, all died from complications. After receiving medication, I allegedly dispensed incorrectly, even though I know I didn't. 47 murders. I spent the next week reconstructing every shredded document from Amanda's trash. My apartment became a paper factory, hundreds of taped-together pages spread across my floor, organized chronologically. The pattern was clear. Riverside Memorial was billing Medicare for expensive cardiac procedures and medications the patients never received. The hospital collected the money. Then patients received wrong medications, developed complications, and either died or required extended care that generated additional billing. Total fraud over 2 years. $4.3 million. But I still couldn't prove the medication tampering. Stanley's testimony would help, but pharmacy records had been altered. I needed the original data. That's when I met David Park, in an unexpected way. I was cleaning the IT department server room at 5 a.m. on June 3rd. David was there, which was unusual. IT director usually worked 9 to -5, not dawn hours. He was sitting on the floor next to a server rack, crying. "Mr. Parker, are you okay?" He looked up, startled. 45 years old, usually precisely dressed, now disheveled and broken. "Carlos? I... I didn't think anyone would be here. I come early. Are you sick?" "Sick?" He laughed bitterly. "No. I'm complicit in murder. That's worse than sick." I set down my mop. "What do you mean?" David pulled a flash drive from his pocket. "Do you know what's on this?" Every altered pharmacy record for the past 2 years. Every time Amanda ordered me to change medication dosages in the database, to make it look like pharmacists dispensed wrong amounts. Every patient death that happened because we deliberately gave them poison instead of medicine. 47 murders, Carlos, and I helped cover every single one. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because my daughter is 15 years old. She asked me yesterday what I do at work that makes me so stressed all the time, and I realized that in 15 years, when she's old enough to understand, I'll have to tell her that her father helped kill elderly people for money. Or I'll have to lie to her forever." He held out the flash drive. "Amanda doesn't know I kept copies. She thinks I'm too loyal, too scared to betray her. She's right about the scared part. But Carlos, I've watched your daughter get destroyed for doing the right thing. I can't keep being the person who destroys good people." I took the flash drive. "This is evidence of federal crimes. Medicare fraud, murder, conspiracy. If you give this to me, you're risking everything." "I know, but Carlos, I've been risking my soul for 2 years. At least this risk means something." With David's flash drive and my reconstructed documents, I had everything I needed, but I needed help understanding how to use it legally. I called Sophia. "Mommy, I need you to contact the FBI. I have evidence of Medicare fraud, and Dad..." "Stop talking." Her voice was panicked. "Don't say anything else on your phone. Meet me at Tompkins Square Park. 30 minutes. Don't tell anyone." When I arrived, Sophia was sitting on a bench with a stranger, a woman in her 50s. Professional but casual dress. "Dad, this is Linda Morrison. She's a journalist who's been investigating Riverside Memorial for 8 months. Linda shook my hand. "Mr. Mendoza, your daughter contacted me 3 weeks ago after she was fired. She's been giving me information about medication errors, but I couldn't publish without hard evidence. Do you have evidence?" I showed her photos of the reconstructed documents on my phone. Linda's eyes, WI.